Well,
Would
it's probably good timing that you just went through some women's Big Bash League stuff because I've been thinking about the football equivalent of A leagues, the both the men's and the women's, and just it's easy to get caught up in the Wellington Phoenix stuff and see, especially when you've got both Wellington Phoenix teams just stocked with like up and coming Kiwi players and the excitement of that. And the men's Phoenix team looked pretty good this year, and hopefully will be, at least a top six, if not a top four team. And the women are hoping to do a lot better than last year. Definitely leveled up a bit in terms of some of the signings that they've made. And the second year should be, especially with home games as well, should all be better. But there are too many good Kiwi footballers to fit in one squad of each of those two teams. I mean, especially for the women, because they've got a limit on how many Kiwi players they can sign. So to begin with, they've had to, in order to sign like Betsy Hassett and Paige Satchel, they've had to let players like, Kelly Brown is scoring bundles of goals for Northern Rovers in the National League at the moment and setting a bunch up too, actually. So I just wanted to look at the different players that are the Kiwis who are signed with A-League teams that aren't the Phoenix currently this season. The men is relatively slim pickings. It's, Costa Barbaros has come back to the Knicks, and Marco Rojas has gone to Chile, and those two have really been flying the flag for a long time, performing at a high level for Australian clubs. Don't have anyone like that this year. We do have James McGarry's gone over to Newcastle Jets, where he's joined Dane Ingham. So a couple Kiwi fullbacks there, hoping to do some nice things. Dane Ingham wasn't actually in Newcastle's squad this week at all. I don't know if he's injured or if he's just not in favour. James McGarry did start for Newcastle, so that was cool. He's hopefully going to have he got caught behind Sam Sutton a bit last year for the Knicks, so he's freed that one up. In fact, their other left back is that Maregas guy who's now on loan at the Knicks as part of that deal, so that's cool. You may have noticed watching the Phoenix game on the weekend, Storm Rue playing right back for Central Coast Mariners, which I believe is where his A-League career started. He's back there now. He's been around a couple of different clubs. He's played for Perth. He's played for Melbourne Victory. He's back at Central Coast. And for Perth, they do also have Keegan Yelisic, who's a former New Zealand under-17s international. Hasn't been a part of their squad so far this season, but he is contracted to them, so that's nice. Hopefully we see him at some point. But as I say, relatively slim pickings with the fellas. With the Wahine, it gets a lot better, to be fair. Last year was the second year in a row where, even if you ignore the fact that the Phoenix came onto the scene, second year in a row where there were 8 New Zealanders contracted to or getting minutes for Australian clubs in the Women's A-League. This year we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 so far. This is after a nice little burst over the weekend. So Grace Jale and Rebecca Burrows signed with Canberra a little while back. Liz Anton staying with Perth for her 3rd season in a row, where she's been excellent for them. Same deal with Claudia Bunge, hoping to make it 3 titles in a row with Melbourne Victory. They've all re-signed. Anton was the first. Jale and Burrows a little bit, or Jale and Burrows a little bit later. Claudia Bunge sort of dipped her toes into maybe seeing if, there was rumors to go to maybe a WSL club in England or something, ended up re-signing with a Victory. Had to wait a while to see whether Hannah Wilkinson would do the same thing. She has done. She's backing it up with Melbourne City, where she was one of 3 Kiwis last year, but Marissa Vandermeer has signed with the Phoenix, and Rebecca Stott's gone over to Brighton. But Wilkie has scored, she scored 14 goals in 14 games last year. Should have won the Golden Boot, but the Golden Boot's only a regular season thing, so she missed out by 1 goal, but that's the target for this time around. Then there was a little bit of a wait, and then Malia Steinmetz has re-signed now with Western Sydney Wanderers. Wasn't sure if she would because she was there last year, didn't get a lot of minutes. Just didn't seem like they really used her in the way that they should have, because she's absolutely good enough to be a starting defensive midfielder in the A-League. But since then, Western Sydney have sacked their coach and brought in a new one, so that was probably good for her, and now she's been re-signed. And just over the weekend as well, Anna Green, a very unexpected one, popping up with Sydney FC. Thought maybe the pro deals might have been finished for Anna Green since she's been back a couple years. Just sort of playing some stuff for Capital, which she isn't doing this year, but then also just maybe focusing on careers outside of football. But here she is, signing with Sydney FC. It was a nice one because she might sort of just come in and take the spot Anna Green taking the spot vacated by Ali Green, who recently switched allegiances to play for the Football Ferns, has been their left back for a couple of years. One A Green leaves, another A Green comes in. I think Anna Green did play for Sydney a couple of years ago as well, so there's some existing thing there. And that's 7 Kiwis at clubs outside of the Phoenix. I am still hoping for more. There is time. A few clubs, there's that little you get half price Kiwi on your thing or whatever. Like there's a subsidized rule for one New Zealander on every team. Whether they do that or not, I think they still count as import players. So it's not necessarily something every club will take up, but there's still time for more. And I've got fingers crossed that maybe it's definitely, I mean, I'll just put it this way. There's definitely a few more players good enough to play at this level should the opportunities arise. Just got to hope that they do.